In today's video, we will be joined with a representative from Women in Engineering UBC. Women in Engineering UBC is a faculty-supported, student-run organization that promotes gender diversity, equity, and inclusion in engineering. Hi, my name is Sophia, and this is Creative Engineering. Hi, thank you so much for joining us today. We'd love to learn more about who you are and the work you do at Women in Engineering UBC.
So my name is Eliza. I'm in my final year of materials engineering at UBC. I'm the Women in Engineering Program Coordinator. So that means that I support a team of our executives who each lead their own committees, and they're focused on kind of 4 different areas within WE. So I'm kind of like the person that you go to for questions and coaching, or if you don't know the answer to something, I'm the one who goes out and finds it for you. I also work with the faculty, staff, and industry members to kind of like advance PDI programs within UBC as well.
We've heard you work with Gearing Up before in the past. Can you tell us a bit about your previous roles here at Gearing Up?
Yeah, Gearing Up's actually where I kind of became involved in kind of gender equity work. I was instructor for the Maker Girls clubs back when they existed. I know they've changed into something else by now. I've held different instructor roles since then. I think I was there for about 3 years.
That's awesome. What is your mission at Women in Engineering?
So Women in Engineering, we're a faculty-supported and student-run organization. We promote gender diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also allyship in engineering. Our goals are to build supportive networks for women in engineering, to bring awareness to EDI issues within engineering, and then to also encourage professional development and leadership growth for our students.
As a student who's interested in maybe potentially joining Women in Engineering in the future, what kinds of programs and events could they be a part of?
So we have 4 different committees in Women in Engineering. We've got the Community Engagement Committee. So that committee kind of focuses on community building events. They're kind of events where you can go to like hang out, make friends. For example, we do like paint nights or like succulent planting, things like that. Our second committee is WISE. It focuses on the annual mentorship conference that we hold every year. It's one of our largest events, and it brings together 100 students and 50 mentors for a night of mentorship in order to increase access to female mentorship within engineering. Third kind of area that we have events in is outreach and education. So that committee focuses on running high school outreach programs and mentorship programs for those kinds of students. And then the fourth one that we have is professional development. So those are kind of the leadership workshops and the professional training skills that we have.
Awesome. Wow. It's great that you guys do so much and you cater to so many people. That's awesome. How does Women in Engineering then define women?
So we define women as anyone who's femme identifying, so that can include any cis, trans, or non-binary folks.
Right. Okay. So, how can allies get involved in the work that you do?
It's really great to have the value and the perspective that allies bring. I think that they could really add to our mission and help us get our message out there. So yeah, if they can get involved in our events, or if they're interested in doing more, they can join one of our committees, and it would be really great to have them.
Awesome. It's really interesting to hear. So, going back about your programs and events, what kinds of connections do you have for the mentorship conference then?
So our mentorship conference, as I said, we bring together around 50 female mentors. They come from all different kinds of engineering disciplines. I used to actually be the WISE chair. So that was one of my goals while I was the chair. I was able to broaden our networks and cover all of the engineering disciplines that UBC has. When you attend the WISE event, you will definitely be able to find somebody who's in your discipline that you want to talk to. For example, we've got companies like Google, Amazon, Tesla, BC Hydro, Arc'teryx, WSP. They've all sent mentors to our events before.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. You have so many people that come out. Wow, that's awesome. How about we start talking about some of the challenges that women face in starting a career in engineering and how might some of those challenges be alleviated?
Yeah, that's a really big question, and a lot of different things come to mind. I know that I've experienced it myself, happened to friends, and I'm sure that other women out there who are in engineering have been impacted by them as well. Some of them that come to mind are imposter syndrome, gender stereotyping, and conscious biases. So those are things like people assuming that you can't do the work that you've been assigned to. A big one that I've also heard students talk about a lot is like that they're there to fill the gender quota. Other things like being assumed that you're there as not as an engineer, but as like a secretary or an assistant, something like that. And then kind of how we can address them, I think, is by being aware and educated about these issues that underrepresented groups face. A big one is by being respectful to others, so not automatically assuming things of other people, especially because of their gender. I touched on allyship before, and I think that's also something that could play a big role in this because the female engineers who face these issues, especially I've experienced myself, like when you're in a situation where you're new and you may not know kind of how the industry works, it's a little bit awkward or you feel shocked when something happens to you and you can't speak up for yourself. So I think having allies there, if they notice that something happened, to point it out and be like, hey, I think that that's not right and you shouldn't have done that. Or to even just kind of bring up opportunities for you to speak yourself just by like pointing it out or raising awareness to it. I think those are some great ways that they can fix.
You tell people, oh, I'm interested in engineering, and sometimes they give you like that little like, oh, engineering, that's tough, isn't it? And that's a lot of work, like, and
Yeah.
you kind of have to like deal with these like stigmas that are just like, oh, but you're capable, we are capable. There's
Mm.
nothing wrong with us going into engineering, and anyone can go into engineering if they have a passion for it, and there shouldn't be any question about that. So I think that's awesome. That now that we've touched on that, why is gender equality important in engineering? Why is this something that people should care about? Why is this important?
Yeah, well, if you think about it, the role of an engineer is kind of to solve the problems of the community, right? So when you're solving these problems, you kind of draw from your background and your own experiences in order to kind of think of solutions or brainstorm how you could solve the problem. When we're solving these problems for a diverse community, you want the people who are solving these problems to reflect the community that you're solving them for so that your solution suits the needs of the community. And so in a field like engineering where it's male dominated, you see a lot of solutions that don't necessarily reflect the community. So some examples that I can give are like female test dummies for like cars and stuff.
Mm.
They actually weren't used in car testing until I think like 2012 or something. Or like spacesuits. I know that they were only recently designed to fit all different kinds of body types. So those are kind of some examples where because they didn't have a diverse community solving those kinds of problems, their solution didn't necessarily fit the needs of the community. So when you have a diverse community solving these problems that engineers have to solve, you get better solutions in order to cater to the community and solve those problems a little bit better.
Mhm. Yeah, that is definitely important and definitely valuable in our communities. So, what would you say to somebody who is interested in going into engineering but is like unsure, is this the path I want to go to? What kind of advice would you give to them, and what would you tell them?
I would tell them to kind of be curious, do their research, and ask a lot of questions. I know that when you're considering going into engineering, you may not necessarily know what it is. That was a big thing for me when I was going into engineering. I was like, oh, what do they actually do? I had no idea. But I would say to people who are trying to consider engineering to go and ask an engineer. It might sound a little scary, but there are lots of university programs do outreach where you can find that information. I'd encourage them to go and ask their questions, find out a little bit more. There's always like people out there like women in engineering who are more than happy to answer their questions. So I think that kind of trying to seek that information would be really, really helpful for them.
Awesome. And finally, how can our viewers get involved with women in engineering?
Yeah, so if you're in high school, we do run, as I mentioned, the mentorship program, and it pairs FEM identifying high school students with FEM identifying university student mentors. They've actually this year developed an entire curriculum that kind of takes the mentor pairs through the engineering student experience. So you'll learn things about what engineering is, the different kinds of engineering roles that you can have, and like a little bit about the student experience at UBC. And then if you're coming to university, we recruit for our committees in September, and all of our events are posted on our social media and our website. So if you are interested in participating, you can find them there as well.
Awesome. Once again, thank you so much for meeting
No
with us.
problem.
So, if you'd love to learn more about women in engineering and the work they do, we've linked their social medias and website in the description below. We highly recommend you check out their events and programs. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd love to learn more with us, please consider liking and subscribing and hit that little bell icon to be notified every time we upload a new video. Bye everyone!